I am very honored to have been invited to this symposium, and very happy also. So I was Professor Wood's first graduate student. All the other speakers before me were postdoctoral fellows. I was a graduate student, freshly out of a bachelor's degree. So he was my one and only PhD thesis mentor, and I was his first graduate student. So we had a very close relationship. I'm going to take you through. I'm going to take you through a little bit of a journey. I started in undergraduate school looking at fluorescence in chlorella, chemiluminescence. Then in Dr. Wood's lab, I moved into molecular motion. And then finally, I got into medicine and the heart. And I'll explain to you how I went from one step to the other. This long journey started obviously with an entrance. And I'll go over how I entered. And then the family life of the lab. And that's where Felicia Wu came into it. And then how I got to move from basic science, biophysics, into medicine, trying my postgraduate work and my research in medicine. So this is the Wu family. A little later, 1985, I got to know them very well. We spent a lot of time together besides work in the lab, outside the lab, on holidays. We had dinners together. I got invited. They were more my family than my actual biological family, because I related more to them. And of course, I knew all the children, Faith, Felicia, and Albert, and David, and they are all here except, unfortunately, Felicia. So in the laboratory, Felicia was kind of mother hen. She was also very busy doing research. And as I said, they were my family for a while, for about 7 years. Wrong way here. So when I came to Dr. Wu's lab in 1972, he was there. Phil Azen was there as the head of biophysics, Arthur Kowalski. And these two fellows were doing NMR, nuclear magnetic resonance studies, and that was a little too boring, it was too hot for my head. I like much better what Ken was doing. And we met, and he gave me showed me a paper with an equation, a couple of equations, that looks something like this, but not exactly. He said, Zach, how do you get from this step to this step? How do you get from this to that? So I had a strong background in mathematics from my undergrad in physics and 1 year of graduate school in physics. And a few days later, a week later, I showed him how, and he said, oh, very good, Zach. So then our relationship started. And the first work that I did there, I kind of was tagging on to a bunch of other workers in the lab. He was a postdoctoral fellow in the lab, and of course Felicia was there. And so we looked at sigma cycle and transcription and a lot of fluorescence work, and that was very nice. And they got my name in there too. It wasn't much of my work. I wasn't very good at bench work at the time, first year or two. So what I did is I said, oh, let me do something theoretical. So I looked at orientation of dipoles or polarization in molecules, small ones and big ones, spinning around, translating. Came up with this analysis here and here about probability distribution and all that, and got a very nice publication in biochemistry, which I respect with. And that was before I could really do any bench work. I was kind of novice at that. My first thing, budding lab work. Then I started mastering bench work. I was able to prepare my own RNA polymerase enzyme using transcription. The DNA, I'm not sure if I prepared it, somebody else prepared it for me. So the first thing that we did is we looked at the topography. How are the subunits of RNA polymerase, the 5 of them, sigma, 2 alphas, beta, and beta prime, how they are related. And we showed these links, these black things, how they're linked by chemical cross-linking. That was the first part. And then later on, we used the photochemical cross-linking and looked at the relationship of the RNA polymerase protein enzyme to the DNA it is transcribing. And what we are able to show is that the sigma subunit and the beta subunits are the ones that are interacting with DNA. This is early work in the 70s. So that was pretty good. You know, I was preparing this, I was mastering the bench work. Great. So then I was a technical person. I said, well, you know, I got to do something different. And my strength was all in technology. So I kind of devised, with Dr. Wu's advice, this little toy here. It's a research thing where we're mixing a protein and DNA very rapidly, and then we drive it to a tube, and then we do a very short-lived flashlight. We kind of photocross-linked it in space, microsecond time scale resolution, 10 microseconds was the duration of this flash right here. Right, so very, very fast, and we see what can isolate. So therefore, we could study the relationship, the physical relationship between RNA polymerase and DNA at various times during the interaction after rapid mixing with this gizmo here. That was not my thing. This was my field. So that went along pretty well. So then combining bench work, wet lab and this technology, we had this rapid photoplasticking technique for looking at protein glycan interactions I mentioned, and we look at intermediates frozen. That was fast. We can look at these intermediates frozen in time at different stages of the relationship, and look at the dynamics of the interaction between the enzyme and the DNA nucleic acid. So what we were able to show through this work was that RNA polymerase binding DNA is a two-step process. There's a rapid random binding to non-specific DNA sites, non-specific, followed by more slow intrapromoter sliding thing of the DNA or whatever you call it, in which RNA polymerase is transferred to the promoter. That's where transcription begins. So we were able to show this dynamics very early on before the more sophisticated studies came up. Okay, so I was very grateful for Dr. Wu for all of this educational and emotional support, whatever he took. So what I got from him is a very pleasant experience, but the most important thing that I got was the confidence that I can achieve any goal, except maybe running a marathon, but I never tried to do that. So that was really something. So after spending 7 years with Dr. Wu, I had my ego, professional ego, pretty well boosted. My other part of my ego was boosted too, but professional, that was important. And I was 7 years in Ken's lab with Felicia also helping along. So what happened after that? Well, I moved into medicine. Why? I was always interested in doing clinical human research, and Dr. Wu told me, Zach, you have to be a doctor to that. Otherwise, the doctor will always tell you what to do. You can't just be a PhD. I said, Then I come from a family of physicians, had grandparents who were physicians over in Europe, where I come from originally. And then finally, there was my ego thing. My ego thing, I had ambition, and I wanted, somewhat different lifestyle than the research lifestyle. And I said, well, there was a fellow, you saw those pictures earlier, who was a guy going to our lab, was going to go to medical school. When I saw what he was capable of doing, I said to myself, I think I can be a better MD, a better doctor than this guy can. So I went into medicine. I applied to medical school, and sure enough, Dr. Wu was once again helpful. He knew some of the admissions coming to this program, and they, he called Biomedical. They said, yeah, Zach is a good guy. So I went to University of Miami PhD to MD program. This was a 2-year medical school program, very, very unique. The only one in the United States which no longer exists. He came in, he had a PhD before, a well-established PhD. He got an MD degree in 2 years. Wow. I did that, and then I got into Mount Sinai Health System, where I did residency training, fellowship. I'm specialized in cardiac anesthesia, became an attending, and so on. So let me show you what I went there. So the first postgraduate, I call it now, research tool was TEE, transesophageal echocardiography. This involves sticking a probe down a person's esophagus, going behind the heart, getting different images by moving the probe, rotating things at the end. It's ultrasound. This is all ultrasound, right? Very harmless to the patient, no harm, right? And you get a myriad of images of the heart, right? And these are all these images in the live. These are video clips. They're not there, right? So you can study lots of things in the heart, lots of things. You can look at cardiac structure, the function of the valves, if they're normal, abnormal, the pathology. Then you can look at the muscle of the left ventricle, the important one, the one that gets screwed up in heart attacks, see how well that's doing. And finally, when you do heart surgery to bypass obstructed arteries, you can get a lot of information about the heart function before and after. Very important. So it was one of my dreams to get into the people's heart and see how it works and learn about that, right? So I achieved that goal. So here's an example. This, folks, right. So this is a normal aortic valve. Very important valve under a lot of pressure and stress from the left ventricle that pushes the blood out to the aorta. You see, it's a nice Mercedes-Benz sign when it's closed. When it opens, it's a triangle. Published a lot on that, not to discuss now. This here is a pathologic valve. Something's wrong with it. Look at this. It's very different from that. So it's like a picture's worth 1,000 words. You look at it and say, hey, there's something wrong with this. And this was the wall of the aorta to which the valve is connected got torn, and it was kind of getting in the way of the leaflet. So you get a totally different picture. So this tells structural differences or structural observation in normal and abnormal cardiac condition. Now let's look at function, right? So here, on the left side, Thanks. Let me go back. Make it live. Okay, on the left side is an abnormal situation. There's blood going from the left ventricle into the left atrium. It's not supposed to be that way. This red signal, there is blood going the wrong way. Normally just like that. After surgery and repair, we return it to normal. Blood doesn't go here anymore, just goes out down. You don't see that. So this is the way we assess the effectiveness of cardiac valve surgery intraoperatively during the case. It's all live, real time. So the surgeons come back and say, oh, it's good, oh no, I gotta go back on bypass and fix it again. Again, a major thing during heart surgery. Hope we don't have to deal with this. So here is the details of the pathology and mechanism. What you just saw there in the previous slide was abnormal flow from the ventricle backwards to the left atrium. And that was caused in this case by this little piece of tissue of the mitral valve going here and blocking and pulling away to keep the valve slightly open to allow that abnormal flow. So this is a magnified here. What we go is we go and operate and cut this piece off, the surgeon does that, and then do something here to make the valve a little smaller, and it goes away, and you get normal flow. So that's what the TE is used for, and we used it for. And we, the anesthesiologists, did this examination for them, showed them live, real-time, intra, and all that. Okay, so then I got into studying cardiac function a little bit. That was a little thing of interest to me. So using TE again, I measured the left ventricular cavity size, which is this signal. This is size versus time. And the left ventricular cavity pressure, this is pressure versus time. Beating the two together, you get the sequence of cardiac cycles here. You connect the end-systolic points, you get a slope called the end-systolic pressure volume relationship is SPVR, and with that you get the strength of function of the heart, the contractility. So this is normal contractility, this is enhanced contractility, this is depressed contractility. So this is a very important thing, and we can put a number on it because there's a slope here, the ESPVR. What is the slope? Somewhere here is the slope, which is a number. You can quantitate the slope, and from that you can get the strength of the cardiac contraction. You can look at the effect of various drugs or various other conditions on this contractility, on this parameter of the heart function. So do that too. So in summary, I reviewed for a little bit my scientific evolution, my professional evolution. This was all inspired originally by Dr. Wu, strong inspiration, in pure science, biophysics, which is what I spent with him, and in clinical science, in medicine. Besides taking a summary, I'd like to thank Professor Wu and Professor Yang, the chairperson for this celebration, and Hui Chen Peng, who was an administrative assistant for this and helped me a great deal get here in one piece. And finally, the National Health Research Institute of Taiwan for sponsoring. Thank you.